By now, I'm sure you have heard someone say that sports is a microcosm of what society is. Well, I would say that this game, the final, I saw poor officiating and poor execution of the game we call basketball. There's been quite a stir around the WNBA finals between the New York...
What if I said that the outcome of the WNBA finals could have been influenced even before the players took to the court? It might sound far-fetched, but after Rachel DeMita shared her thoughts about last night's game, fans all around started to question things they once took for granted.
Last night's WNBA finals game was absolutely rigged, and there is so much proof. What a terrible way to end this WNBA season.
Some calls felt questionable, and strange moments happened that seemed too convenient. Now, everything in that game feels like part of a bigger story. Today, we'll explore what unfolded that has basketball fans wondering, was the finals truly fair?
In the fourth quarter of Game 3, 4 seconds, Ionescu will heave and hit! And hit! Sabrina Ionescu with the biggest shot in Liberty history!
In this video, we'll look at every detail, every surprising twist, and all the clues that led Rachel and many others to think the result of this championship game might not have been based on luck. We'll highlight the moments that felt off and point out how certain calls could have decided the game. While we might not have all the answers, the evidence is quite compelling, and by the end of this narrative, you'll find yourself questioning what really transpired on that court. If you're interested in delving deeper into this story, please like the video, share it with friends, and remember to subscribe to our channel for more thrilling investigations in sports. Now, let's jump into the details. The tension in the arena was palpable as the clock ticked down to mere seconds, with fans breathlessly watching Breanna Stewart standing at the three-point line. She made her move, taking several steps without dribbling the ball at all. This was not just a minor shuffle, it was a sequence of steps that would typically be called a travel in any game. Yet, the referee stayed silent, allowing her to complete her shot unchallenged.
Now we see the smaller players.
Here comes Ionescu, off to Jones. Jones spinning on Collier, can't scoop it in. Game 1. Collier fading away, floats it in.
Go down, Minnesota.
In the corner, Carlton connect with us that there were so many answer buckets from McBride as New York turned Smith on her. Jones with Collier. Jones muscling in. Nice hands from Collier and force a 2-for-1. They'll settle it in the half court. And a tie-up here, perplexed as to why not. Collier rummaging inside, finish it over to McBride. Here comes Minnesota. Collier on the move, bounces inside for the easy. Collier fading away and finishing. McBride can't toss it in. Collier's putback is leans, can't hit. Jones the rebound. Jones wrestles away and it dips inside, can't hit. Jones the rebound in a crowd, and guess what? The whole way. Williams dancing, Stewart on her. Collier fading and hitting. Collier gets free, and it's a 2 to even up this series and not collapse again. Jones, no rebound.
Immediately, fans took to social media, baffled by how such a glaring travel violation went unnoticed. Watching the replay, it was hard to ignore the clear travel violation, especially in such a crucial moment of the game. As the final buzzer sounded, the fact that no whistle blew left players, coaches, and fans bewildered. For a lot of people, this was the first sign that something was wrong.
Ryan, Sandy Brondello has not had to call a first quarter timeout yet in these finals. This is a period where they got to be careful.
Another steal, this time it's Collier. Collier swimming in, can't finish it. Lady Hamilton.
But the referee's silence was only part of the oddity of the play. When Stewart took her shot, there was a minor contact that resulted in a foul call sending her to the free throw line. Was that call warranted, or did it unfairly swing the game in favor of New York? The questions mounted as commentators, including Rachel DeMita, began to break down these crucial moments.
Jumps 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. She at least takes 4 steps at minimum. She might have taken 5. She hops, stutter steps, and doesn't put the ball down until she gets in the paint. She literally catches the ball close to the 3-point line, doesn't put it on the ground until she gets into the paint. So no travel was called. Now let's look at the second half of this play when
the referees called a foul on Minnesota's Elena Smith for what looked like almost no contact. It left many people scratching their heads. The slow-motion replay clearly showed Smith trying to block Stewart's shot, but there was hardly any evidence to support the foul.
Then it looks like this Liberty player is going straight up with it. Now, from this angle, it's a little bit hard to tell. It's a little bit of a zoomed out angle, but there are also photos from this play. So as you can see in this photo here, which is right before Stewie goes up with the ball, Elena Smith is not touching her at all. She has 2 fingers that look like slightly tapping the ball. Her body isn't touching Breanna Stewart. Her arm isn't touching Breanna Stewart. There was clearly zero contact here.
Cameras from every angle captured the moment, revealing that Smith's fingers only lightly touched the ball, not Stewart herself. Fans watched in shock, questioning why such a minor action led to a foul that affected the entire game. This foul call was more than just a small mistake. It became a key moment that played a big part in New York's victory. Adding to the confusion, the referees explained their decision by claiming Smith hadn't set up a legal guarding position. This is a basic concept that many players learn early in their basketball journey, so invoking it in such a critical moment felt like a stretch to many observers.
Liberty fans have waited 28 years for this moment. They're not going to foul, and the New York Liberty, for the first time in franchise history, has won the WNBA title. Screamers coming down from the ceiling, New York going, and that will do it. The New York Liberty are the 2024 WNBA champions.
Even experienced commentators were surprised by this ruling. Rachel DeMita's commentary highlighted how rare it is to see such a call made, particularly in the dying seconds of a championship match. For the fans, this play felt less like an isolated mistake and more like a signal of a larger issue in the way the game is officiated.
Like, if this were another time during the game, if this were like in the second or third quarter, I wouldn't really have much.
The questionable officiating didn't stop with just the calls on the court. The free throw statistics added another head-scratcher for fans and analysts alike. By the end of the game, the New York Liberty had stepped up to the free throw line a staggering 25 times, in stark contrast to the Minnesota Lynx's mere 8 attempts.
Starting to taste it. Got a boom. Minnesota.
This kind of disparity is nearly unprecedented in a finals matchup where, typically, the officiating balances out to ensure fairness for both teams. Clearly, those additional free throws were pivotal in helping New York maintain control of the game. With each tough play the Lynx executed, it felt as though New York found a much simpler path to the basket and more opportunities to rack up easy points. Led many fans and players to ponder whether these calls were just random occurrences or if there was something more calculated behind them. The startling numbers didn't end with free throws. They told a story of imbalanced officiating that had a real impact on the game's outcome. Observers began to draw parallels to other high-stakes contests, noting how infrequently such lopsided officiating is allowed to dictate a championship. Figures like Rachel voiced their concerns, urging fans to recognize this imbalance, dubbing it the statistical canyon that characterized this championship battle. The buzz surrounding the questionable calls made by the referees was growing, and soon many of basketball's biggest names stepped in to express their views. NBA legends and current stars took to social media, sharing their surprise and disbelief at the events that unfolded during the game. These players know the intense pressure of the finals, and how important it is to have a fair game, their outrage showed just how strange the events of this game were. One experienced player shared his view, saying, "Let the players decide the outcome," which highlighted the frustration many fans and players felt about the inconsistent calls made by the referees. Others started to wonder why it seemed like the officials were favoring one team, which made it feel like the calls were more important than the players' performances on the court. This kind of solidarity among athletes is rare, and it suggested that something was not quite right in this year's WNBA finals.
It's a shame that officiating, had such a hand in a series like this. Obviously, there's always going to be a team that's going to be a little more disappointed than the other. I thought today was incredibly disappointing. The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party, because that was not a foul. That call should have been reversed on that challenge. If we sent that clip...
It was not just about supporting their teams or favorite players, it was about the essence of the sport and fair competition. When respected figures in basketball voice their concerns, they are usually standing up for the integrity of the game. With so many calling attention to the officiating issues, fans started to question whether the referees were truly unbiased, or if other influences were playing a role in determining the game's outcome. In the midst of the officiating controversy, fans quickly noticed another striking detail at the trophy ceremony. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert made a dramatic entrance in a dress adorned with the New York City skyline. Given the significance of the occasion and New York's pivotal role in the finals, her fashion choice ignited a flurry of theories and backlash from fans.
To the New York Liberty, one of the original WNBA franchises, winning their long-awaited first WNBA title, beating the Minnesota Lynx in overtime of Game 5. Rhiannon, Allie, you were there for it all as well. It was epic.
It was quite the game. Wow, I have no voice left but from screaming all night. It was an overtime thriller, and this winner-take-all Game 5, it kept fans of both teams on the edge of our seats until the last possible second. It was a heartbreaker for Minnesota fans, but it was New York's turn to finally win it all.
This morning, for the first time in franchise history, the New York Liberty are waking up WNBA champions. The W comes after a rocky start, trying to defend against the Minnesota Lynx's Napheesa Collier.
I mean, that is simply Napheesa Collier's shot.
At one point, the Liberty down by 12 points.
Jones puts it down, gets it back, and finishes, puts the foul.
But storm back with a chance to tie the game with just 38 seconds left in regulation. Breanna Stewart
Misses both.
But Stewie got a chance for redemption, fouled once more.
This to tie Game 5. Tie game.
The Liberty came out firing in overtime.
To some, this outfit felt like a deliberate nod to New York, particularly when you consider the questionable officiating this series faced. A league official donning apparel that is so directly associated with one team city raises eyebrows about impartiality. Regardless of what Engelbert intended, social media was soon flooded with comments from fans, speculating if this was merely a coincidence or a calculated statement.
Stuart Collier had a lot of free throws last night. She did really well from the line.
Yeah, she did. It's a great game. I mean, they hoisted the trophy, and that's all that matters.
Hoisting it.
It's classic Game 7. I don't care how they got to winning the Game 7. I mean, I know Sabrina was terrible. Okay,
yeah,
she's the reason they lost the game.
Game 5.
Yeah, but they won.
Game 5.
But had they lost, she would have been the reason they lost.
The online response was rapid and passionate, with many labeling the dress as the smoking gun of the finals. The widespread controversy surrounding the commissioner's attire underscores the depth of mistrust among fans. For many, it transcended being just a piece of clothing. It had become emblematic of the problematic nature of the entire final series. After the game, Cheryl Reeve, coach of the Minnesota Lynx, walked into the press room, clearly upset by what she had just seen. In her post-game remarks, she expressed her disappointment with the officiating and raised concerns about how fair the game really was. Her comments hit home for fans as they echoed the frustrations many experienced while watching the finals.
Over the last half of that game as New York
I saw a very physical and aggressive New York team. And we know this from being a part of the game for so long that sometimes you get away with stuff when you're physical and aggressive, and they certainly did. It's a shame that officiating had such a hand in a series like this. Obviously, there's always going to be a team that's going to be a little more disappointed than the other.
Reeve's concerns went beyond just a few bad calls. She emphasized the importance of consistency in how the game is officiated. She noted that similar plays seemed to be judged differently depending on which team was involved. This message resonated with both fans and players who wanted a more balanced and just approach to give both teams a fair chance at winning the championship. When a respected coach like Reeve speaks out so openly, risking potential fines, it shows just how much she believes in fairness. She was willing to stand up for her players' efforts, putting her own reputation on the line. In that moment, Cheryl Reeve became a strong voice not just for her team, but for all sports fans advocating for fairness in the game.
When at the other end, when we challenged it, if we would have turned that clip in, they would have told us that it was marginal contact, no foul. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So when you review, those should be the same parameters that you're reviewing with. But the three people that are on the game need a third party.
Looking back at this finals, we need to think about what it means for the WNBA as a whole. The league has been gaining ground and attracting new fans, and credibility is crucial. Fans want to feel confident that they are watching a fair competition where the results are based on skill and strategy rather than outside influences. For many supporters, this finals has raised serious questions about the fairness of the league, leaving them worried about future games. The issues with calls and controversies are not just minor problems, they have made a strong impact on the fans who love the league. If viewers can't trust that the officiating is fair, they might think twice about watching again, which could undermine all the progress the WNBA has made over time. Ultimately, the WNBA's future integrity depends on how openly these issues are addressed and whether trust can be restored. Whether it involves revisiting how officials are trained or finding ways to hold them accountable, this finals has opened up a conversation that will be hard to ignore. As we come to the end of our exploration, we find ourselves asking more questions than we had at the start, especially regarding the WNBA finals and what really happened behind the curtain. The comments from Rachel DeMita, along with feedback from fans and players, have opened up a discussion that could lead to important changes. However, until we have more information, fans are left wondering, was the finals fair, or did outside forces influence the results?
The New York Liberty are officially WNBA champions. The team clinched the win against the Minnesota Lynx last night in Game 5 overtime at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. At one point, the Liberty was down by 12 points, bouncing back less than a minute before the game was over. The final score 67-62 with power forward Jonquel Jones named MVP. This is the first ever title for the team in its 27-year history, and what is already...
It will take time to see if the WNBA will tackle these issues directly, but one thing is becoming clearer: the calls for fairness are getting stronger. It is vital for the league to listen to these voices, to protect the integrity of the sport, and to ensure that every future game is decided through skill, passion, and fair play. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe for more updates on the biggest happenings in the world of sports.